At first, it sounded like a mistake.
On the night of October 14, 2016, Eleanor Hayes lived in this seemingly ordinary neighborhood. The streets were empty, silent, almost serene, hiding the unease she felt inside her home. For neighbors, it was routine. For Eleanor, it was a night of quiet terror, a night that would culminate in a 911 call that would change everything. The calm surface of her life concealed an awareness, a subtle anxiety, and a fear that something, or someone, was present in her home, unseen but profoundly threatening. This bedroom was Eleanor's sanctuary, yet on the night she made her final call, it became the scene of quiet horror. The phone, resting innocently on the nightstand, held her last words. Every detail mattered: the shadows, the placement of objects, the stillness that suggested normalcy while concealing danger. For investigators later, each item would become evidence of her awareness and preparation. Even in a room so carefully arranged, subtle signs hinted at the presence of a threat she could feel but could not see. At the emergency center, Eleanor's call was just another entry in a stream of routine reports. The dispatcher listened carefully, noting the calm but tense voice, the brief words that hinted at danger. The line went silent before help could arrive. For the staff, it was an incomplete call, a routine anomaly. For investigators later, it would become a chilling record of a life aware of peril, a message meant to be heard but interrupted, leaving questions that no one could answer until much later. Police plotted their response using the map, trying to locate Eleanor's home quickly. Every second mattered, yet the distance, the quiet streets, and the lack of clear distress signals delayed their arrival. On paper, the call seemed ordinary, but the dispatcher's notes hinted at a subtle urgency. For Eleanor, each moment counted. She had sensed something inside her home, an invisible presence, and had reached out through the only means she could. The map was more than a guide. It became a tool tracing the line between life and the unknowable danger within her house. The living room, calm and familiar, held the echo of Eleanor's life. Every object was in its place, yet investigators later noted small anomalies, items slightly moved, shadows that hinted at unseen movement. Eleanor had lived here cautiously, documenting visitors, deliveries, and changes, aware of forces she could not fully identify. The calm environment belied tension. It was within these ordinary walls that her fear manifested, subtle, controlled, captured in a final call that would later become both evidence and an unsettling message, a trace of her awareness lingering in the stillness. Officers arriving at Eleanor's home saw a quiet, unremarkable porch. No signs of intrusion, no disturbance. Yet beneath the surface of this ordinary scene, something had already transpired. Eleanor's final 911 call had been made, her life subtly threatened by an invisible hand. The fog, the darkness, the gentle glow from inside, all contributed to a sense of normalcy while hiding the extraordinary. The officers would later find a house untouched, yet within its walls, a crime had been committed with precision, leaving only faint hints of presence, timing, and intention. The locked door seemed unremarkable, but investigators would later note subtle marks suggesting careful manipulation. Whoever entered Eleanor's home did so without leaving conventional signs of force. Every detail, every nuance, mattered in reconstructing the timeline. The scratches near the handle were minor, almost dismissible, yet they hinted at intrusion without confrontation. Eleanor's awareness of danger had led her to place a 911 call, but even that could not prevent what occurred. The door became symbolic of the line between ordinary life and the invisible threat that claimed her life. The officer's arrival was delayed by protocol, by the ordinary rhythm of a neighborhood that seemed safe. As the fog drifted across the asphalt, they approached unaware of the precision and inevitability of the events inside. Eleanor's final moments had already passed, her call captured but not yet acted upon. The silent streets masked the extraordinary, the meticulously executed crime that would later defy explanation. Each ordinary moment, each routine glance, concealed the calculated intrusion that transformed a quiet house into the epicenter of a haunting investigation. Forensic teams would later examine Eleanor's home with exhaustive care. Swabs, powders, gloves, tools designed to reveal the smallest trace of presence, yielded only the obvious, her DNA, and that of authorized personnel. The absence of other fingerprints, other human traces, became a central mystery. It was a crime executed with precision beyond ordinary comprehension. The meticulous collection of evidence revealed what had happened and what could not be explained. Eleanor's house, once her sanctuary, now stood as a silent testament to intrusion, methodical planning, and a presence that left almost nothing behind. Eleanor's bedroom was the stage of her final moments. The phone, crucial and now missing, held her last attempt at communication. The neatness of the room contrasted with the chaos invisible to the eye, the intrusion, the sedatives, the calculated timing. Shadows moved across the walls, captured only by careful later observation. This ordinary bedroom became extraordinary in its silence, a record of fear, awareness, and the unknown. Every object, every angle, every absent detail became part of the narrative that investigators pieced together from fragments, echoes, and unseen forces. When investigators returned to Eleanor's home, they noticed subtle irregularities that had gone previously undetected. Books were slightly tilted on shelves. Chairs were not in their usual positions. Drawers left ajar by fractions of an inch. At first glance, these minor details appeared inconsequential, yet for forensic teams trained to detect disturbance, they hinted at deliberate intrusion. Combined with the missing phone and precise administration of sedatives, these small anomalies painted a disturbing picture. Someone had been inside Eleanor's home, moving with care and knowledge, leaving almost no trace. The shadows in the corners, shifting with the faint light from the lamp, seemed to echo the presence investigators could not identify. These details transformed ordinary domestic spaces into a silent record of calculated intrusion, a testament to Eleanor's awareness and the unfathomable skill of an unseen presence. Every object, every displacement, became evidence in a case that defied explanation. The sedatives that ended Eleanor Hayes's life became a focal point of the investigation. Laboratory analysis revealed they were prescription-grade, administered in precise amounts calculated to induce unconsciousness without causing immediate visible trauma. Eleanor herself had never been prescribed these drugs, ruling out accidental overdose. Investigators hypothesized deliberate timing and careful administration. Whoever had carried out this act required intimate knowledge of her physiology, routines, and likely reactions. Yet the home contained no residue, no fingerprints, no DNA, nothing to identify the perpetrator. This meticulous precision suggested a calculated plan, executed with extraordinary skill, transforming a familiar domestic space into the stage for a crime that defied ordinary logic. Each pill, each microgram, became evidence not just of homicide but of deliberate control, a silent assertion of power over Eleanor's final hours, highlighting the calculated, patient, and almost impossible nature of the act. Neighbors later reported faint glimpses of movement the night of Eleanor's call. A shadow flickered in a second-story window, disappearing before anyone could see clearly. At the time, it was dismissed as a trick of the dim streetlights, a passerby, or imagination. But in hindsight, this moment aligned precisely with enhanced audio from the 911 call, the faint mechanical tapping, the irregular noises beneath Eleanor's controlled breathing. The shadow suggested a presence, observing, moving undetected. Investigators pieced together a timeline that positioned this figure outside the house in synchronization with events inside. It raised chilling questions. How could someone move undetected? How could precise sedation and intrusion occur without leaving physical evidence? The faint silhouette became symbolic of the invisible, calculating force that had penetrated Eleanor's sanctuary, leaving her to make her final call, a call meant to be heard, but tragically incomplete, registering only tension, fear, and subtle awareness of a threat unseen by the world outside. Among Eleanor's most revealing discoveries was her personal log of visitors. Every delivery, maintenance visit, and brief encounter in the months prior to her death was meticulously recorded with times, dates, and observations. Investigators found this document invaluable, offering insight into her heightened awareness. Eleanor's notes suggested she felt a presence, a persistent observation that went unnoticed by others. The list demonstrated a methodical attempt to document her environment, to anticipate intrusion, and perhaps to defend herself preemptively. Yet, despite her vigilance, the intruder managed to administer lethal sedatives, disappear without a trace, and leave her phone missing. These records became a chilling testament to her foresight and the sophistication of whoever had entered her life. They highlighted a paradox: Eleanor's intelligence, preparation, and attention to detail were insufficient to prevent a crime executed with unparalleled precision, leaving investigators confronting the intersection of human intent, unseen threat, and the unexplained phenomena surrounding her final moments. Audio analysis revealed what was imperceptible to the human ear in the original 911 call. Beneath Eleanor's controlled breathing, specialists detected subtle, irregular sounds, taps, faint mechanical echoes, and shifting pressure in the environment. These anomalies suggested proximity within the house, something or someone moving with calculated precision. The pattern could not be replicated in controlled tests, defying ordinary explanations. Investigators concluded that while the sedatives accounted for the physical cause of death, the recording preserved traces of an unseen presence, an almost spectral interaction with Eleanor's environment. It became clear that the 911 call itself was a silent record of awareness, capturing elements of intrusion and danger invisible to both neighbor and officer. The recording stood as a chilling reminder: the human ear alone could not detect all threats, and Eleanor's final minutes were encoded in a medium that combined technology, presence, and terror. The disappearance of Eleanor's phone remained one of the most confounding aspects of the investigation. Cell tower records confirmed activity during the 911 call, then sudden, total silence. Weeks of searches yielded nothing: no device in the house, no digital signal, nothing in the immediate vicinity. Investigators examined all possible explanations: theft, misplacement, or intentional removal. None accounted for the reappearance of the phone during the mysterious second 911 call 46 days later. When the line transmitted faint breathing and mechanical tapping, it confirmed that the device had somehow persisted beyond Eleanor's death. This anomaly challenged conventional logic, forcing detectives to confront a disturbing possibility: that the instrument of her final communication had not merely been stolen or hidden, but had retained a record of her awareness, replaying it under unknown conditions. The phone itself became a haunting symbol of presence, absence, and an unanswered call from beyond. Investigators revisited local security cameras, enhancing grainy images frame by frame. Shadows flickered in and out of view. A figure appeared briefly outside Eleanor's home minutes before her call, moving with speed and precision that made identification impossible. The footage correlated with the faint mechanical noises captured in the 911 call, suggesting a synchronized presence inside and outside the house. Officers noted that the figure left no footprints, left no traces, and seemed to vanish entirely from the camera's view. Each frame added to the tension, a visual echo of the intrusions recorded by Eleanor's own observation and meticulous logging. This combination of evidence, audio, video, and subtle physical cues, painted an unsettling reality: Eleanor's death had been observed, influenced, and executed by an entity capable of interacting with her environment without leaving conventional proof, leaving detectives questioning the boundaries between human crime and phenomena that defied explanation. The hallways of Eleanor's home became a silent witness to events investigators could not fully explain. Doors that should have been closed were slightly ajar. Small disturbances, almost imperceptible, marked the path of someone moving with caution and intent. Combined with the autopsy findings and forensic analysis, these subtle shifts suggested calculated intrusion. Investigators noted that no ordinary intruder could have moved with such precision, leaving almost nothing behind. Each shadow, each displacement of objects, became evidence not just of presence, but of awareness and intention. The house itself transformed into a record, capturing traces of events in ways that traditional investigation could only interpret as extraordinary. Eleanor's final 911 call intersected with these observations, creating a narrative that spanned the seen and unseen, the audible and imperceptible, leaving a chilling impression that someone, or something, had entered her life with meticulous foreknowledge. Eleanor's journals offered insight into her state of mind and heightened awareness. Every entry detailed visitors, deliveries, and subtle changes in her environment. Investigators examined the meticulous records as evidence of her perception of ongoing threats. She had tracked minor anomalies, moments when doors clicked differently, items shifted, or sounds barely perceptible in the night. These observations, though appearing obsessive to outsiders, demonstrated an intuitive understanding of intrusion. The journals became critical in reconstructing events leading to her death. They suggested Eleanor had recognized danger and attempted to document it, yet could not prevent it. Her entries reflected careful observation, fear, and preparation, precisely the traits that allowed investigators to piece together the timeline. Each word was a testament to her awareness, offering context for the forensic evidence, the missing phone, and the second 911 call that would eventually confirm the persistence of her presence beyond death. The toxicology report revealed the calculated administration of sedatives that ultimately caused Eleanor's death. The doses were precise, sufficient to induce unconsciousness but subtle enough to leave no immediate physical signs. Investigators realized this required knowledge of her weight, metabolism, and routine. There was no evidence of self-administration, no prescription records, and no signs of forced entry that could explain direct intervention. The act was deliberate, targeted, and executed with extraordinary precision. This revelation shifted the case from a mysterious death to a crime of meticulous planning. It suggested an intruder with intimate knowledge of Eleanor's life, capable of operating without leaving traceable evidence. Each pill became a marker of control, a silent assertion over the victim's final moments, reinforcing the notion that Eleanor's death was not only homicide but a calculated, almost clinical act executed with foresight, patience, and a disturbing absence of human error. 46 days after Eleanor's death, the Emergency Communications Center received an impossible call. The same device that had vanished weeks earlier now transmitted faint breathing, interrupted by the same mechanical tapping captured during her final 911 call. Dispatchers froze, unsure whether to treat it as a technical glitch or a genuine report. Audio specialists enhanced the signal, confirming the cadence matched Eleanor's voice, unmistakable and precise. Investigators faced a chilling reality: her presence, her awareness, seemed to persist beyond death. The event blurred boundaries between human intervention and something inexplicable, forcing law enforcement to consider phenomena they could neither measure nor classify. The second call was not merely an anomaly, it was evidence of continuity, a haunting echo of the night she died, and a stark reminder that whatever had intruded on her life might still linger, unseen, deliberate, and unresolved. Audio analysis revealed the subtle complexity of the second call. Beneath Eleanor's faint, controlled breathing, irregular tapping patterns repeated at intervals identical to her first call. Specialists could not reproduce the phenomenon under any controlled conditions. Every waveform suggested proximity, deliberate movement, and presence, yet no human could have created it without leaving physical traces. Investigators were forced to confront the unimaginable. The 911 recording itself preserved evidence of intrusion that defied conventional explanation. This anomaly became central to understanding Eleanor's final hours, emphasizing that the events were not entirely human in origin. Her voice, encoded with subtle signs of awareness, reached beyond death, creating a haunting, indelible imprint. The recordings transformed from simple evidence into a chilling message, a bridge between life and the unknown, challenging investigators to reconcile forensic facts with phenomena that resisted logic. Returning to Eleanor's home, investigators noted that the shadows in her hallways seemed to retain memory of movement. Items displaced, doors slightly ajar, and the faint echo of sounds previously recorded hinted at presence without form. These anomalies were subtle but consistent, reinforcing the pattern captured in her 911 calls: forensic experts documented every shift, noting that no human agent could have moved so precisely without leaving physical evidence. Each corridor became a record, a silent witness to events that occurred and continued beyond Eleanor's death. The house itself seemed alive with residual awareness, capturing her fear, her preparation, and the unseen force that had invaded her life. These environmental cues, combined with audio evidence, created a haunting narrative. Eleanor's final moments were not just a homicide but an interaction with an intelligence operating outside ordinary perception, leaving a trail impossible to trace fully. Small disturbances in Eleanor's home, almost imperceptible, became critical evidence. Books, papers, and personal objects were slightly moved, inconsistent with daily routines. Each adjustment suggested deliberate interference, carefully executed to avoid detection. Investigators noted that these movements, combined with the precise administration of sedatives, could only be performed by someone intimately familiar with Eleanor's habits, or by a force defying ordinary comprehension. Her personal logs indicated she had anticipated intrusion, yet the methodical manipulation in her home exceeded anything she could have prepared for. These details painted a chilling picture. Eleanor's life had been penetrated not only by lethal human action but by calculated observation. The small shifts recorded in her environment became symbols of a haunting presence, leaving detectives to document, measure, and analyze, yet never fully understand, the forces that had orchestrated the events leading to her death. Eleanor's logs were both evidence and warning. Each entry detailed arrivals, departures, and subtle environmental changes. Investigators later realized these pages chronicled more than routine activity. They documented her growing awareness of something untraceable. Every note became a piece of a puzzle, revealing her foresight, her anxiety, and her methodical preparation. Yet the logs also highlighted the inevitability of her fate. Despite her caution, the precise administration of sedatives and the disappearance of her phone demonstrated that her planning was insufficient against a presence that operated beyond ordinary observation. Her meticulous documentation became an eerie testament to both her intelligence and her vulnerability, a narrative preserved on paper, silently recounting events that would later be echoed in the mysterious second 911 call, a voice transcending death and leaving investigators with a record that blurred the lines between human crime and the paranormal. Enhanced footage captured a shadow moving with speed and precision outside Eleanor's house minutes before her final call. Grainy, fleeting, and almost imperceptible, the figure appeared to vanish at the edges of each frame. For investigators, this visual anomaly aligned with audio evidence from the 911 calls. The mechanical tapping, combined with shadows outside the home, suggested a presence interacting with Eleanor's environment while leaving no traceable evidence. Every effort to identify the figure through conventional surveillance failed. Its movement was deliberate, synchronized, and precise, challenging any theory of ordinary human intrusion. Investigators recognized a pattern: presence without evidence, interaction without trace. The shadow became emblematic of the case itself, representing the unseen intelligence that had influenced Eleanor's final moments. It confirmed that the events were orchestrated, measured, and beyond normal human capability, reinforcing the chilling notion that Eleanor had been both observed and targeted by something untraceable. The scene outside Eleanor's home during the investigation was surreal. Emergency vehicles, lights flashing across damp pavement, created a cinematic tableau of urgency and tension. Yet inside, the house remained quiet, undisturbed, a stark contrast to the extraordinary events that had occurred. Investigators worked meticulously, aware that every object, every shadow, could contain clues invisible to the naked eye. The juxtaposition of normalcy outside and the calculated, invisible intrusion within heightened the sense of unease. Eleanor's death had transformed an ordinary suburban setting into the center of a phenomenon that combined precise homicide with the inexplicable. The reflective surfaces, wet streets, and glowing lights became part of the narrative, a visual metaphor for a case in which reality and the unknown intersected, leaving detectives to navigate the boundaries of what could be proven and what could only be felt as haunting presence. The enhanced waveform from the second 911 call revealed disturbing repetition, Eleanor's measured breathing paired with mechanical tapping, a rhythm mirroring her first call. Specialists could not recreate it artificially. Each spike, each echo, suggested proximity and deliberate interaction. For investigators, it was both evidence and enigma, a tangible record that defied logic. The device that had vanished weeks earlier now transmitted signs of awareness from beyond Eleanor's death. It was as if the call preserved not only her voice but also the intrusion she had feared. This anomaly forced law enforcement to expand their investigation beyond traditional homicide parameters, acknowledging that the presence influencing her final hours was undetectable, precise, and possibly non-human. The waveform became a haunting visual record of the final moments, preserving tension, observation, and intrusion, and leaving investigators to confront a reality where evidence existed without an identifiable perpetrator. Eleanor's bedroom at dawn, quiet and unassuming, became the symbolic center of the case. The phone, once missing, now inexplicably reappeared on the nightstand. Investigators could not determine how it returned or how it transmitted the second 911 call. Sunlight illuminated shadows, highlighting objects slightly displaced, hinting at presence and activity invisible to the human eye. The meticulous order of the room contrasted with the extraordinary events that had occurred. It was here that intrusion, observation, and communication converged. Eleanor's final attempt to reach help was preserved in subtle environmental changes and the mysterious reappearance of the device. This scene embodied the paradox: her home remained a sanctuary, yet it had been breached with precision, leaving only traces, recordings, and a haunting presence that defied explanation. The room itself became evidence of both crime and phenomena. In the final imagery of Eleanor Hayes's story, a single candle flickers in a darkened room. It casts soft, wavering light over empty furniture, creating shadows that seem to move with their own intent. This image captures the haunting legacy of her life and death, a quiet reflection of observation, intrusion, and unresolved mystery. Her final 911 call, the second posthumous call, the precise administration of sedatives, and the subtle disturbances in her home converge in this moment of stillness. The candle symbolizes both illumination and absence, the presence that lingered, the questions that remained unanswered, and the awareness that endured beyond death. It is a visual metaphor for Eleanor's story, ordinary life disrupted, meticulously recorded, and ultimately preserved in evidence, sound, and shadow, leaving a haunting echo for investigators, viewers, and anyone who contemplates the fragility of safety and the persistence of the unknown.